Hello everyone, Unknown Reefer here, bringing you another video of the DD Reef Pro 1500. Now, this video is all about the little quirks and things that I found out about this tank and its design. I've had the tank for about 2 years now, just under. Obviously it doesn't look as impressive as some of the other people's ones that have been up and running for 2 years, but there's a couple of very good reasons for that. One is budget. I haven't quite got the money to fill this with lots and lots of really nice colonies, or just generally fill it with the higher end corals. But the biggest reason why it's not quite as good as some of the others is just time. Those of you who have seen my channel before know that for the last year I've been working abroad a lot, and then when I have been back in the UK I have been studying for my degree, which I'm still doing. So it really hasn't given me much time to do much to the tank, which has ended up in me losing some of the corals that I did actually transfer over from my previous tank. So I'm just going more simple LPS and softies in here at the moment. Lots of little mushrooms and things dotted around, and trying to keep up with the water changes so that hopefully in another 6 months, a year's time, it'll look a bit better. But let's get on to the little quirks about this tank. I really like this tank. It's not just because it's a big old tank in my living room. I do like the design of them. I like the way they've done the weir at the back, so it's almost hidden because it angles up here, so it doesn't stick out like a solid. It comes up, it angles up and comes to this corner. So when you look at the tank straight on, a lot of the time you don't even notice it. And generally just the build quality and the fact that all the cabinets come with all the seals on the cabinet actually masticed and sealed up together, and the cabinet comes pre-built. I just really like it. So let's go on to the first quirk. The first quirk is the section at the back on the weir, funnily enough. So on this weir, I mean, I've got a couple of bits sitting on it, but you'll notice that this actually sits up almost level with the glass. So this is actually a DD mesh guard that goes on top, but you'll notice if I sit it down, it doesn't actually sit completely flat because it sits on this extra part for the weir. Now this weir comes across here, you've got your pipes in there, and then you've got a section here for your wiring to go down underneath. I've only used that for a couple of bits, like this heat sensor. The rest of it I've run the lights up at the top, and my pump ended up being down the other side. Again, it's not a problem. I've seen some people have done their jump guards that just go up to this rather than all the way to the back, but it's just something to make you aware of, that it will make it sit a little bit flush compared to compared to completely flush. The second little quirk is, once you've had it a while, these doors are really good because you can open them up and bend them in half, or you just open one to get into your tank if you only need to just check what's going on in there. Really good, and you can even take these bits off. The only problem is, once they've aged a little bit, when they actually close, you'll notice that you get this little bulge here. I know you can get other slightly better quality hinges, or you can adjust them. Well, I've tried adjusting, I couldn't get it going, and it is a problem, but I've found that if you just close one and then close the other, it's fine. It's just a little quirk to notice that sometimes it can stick out like that. Because I know the way to close the doors to get around it, I don't really mind. Now, the next two little quirks will go underneath on the guts, and my electrical part is a little bit untidy at the moment, and my sump actually could do a bit of a tidy up. Now, in here, you'll notice the sump design, and this is one of the main reasons I went for this over a Red Sea, is because of the sump design. The way it comes down over here, goes through your big area, and goes at the back for your return, and then you've got a nice big ATO chamber next to it. This works really well. If I'd actually bought the proper DD roller, I probably would have been able to fit my skimmer in this first section as well. But at the moment I've got my skimmer goes in the refugium area. Doesn't seem to really annoy this skimmer too much. I think I've got a crab in there somewhere that eats most of the chato as it grows anyway, so it never really makes its way over to the skimmer. Now, one of the quirks with this design is having this RO chamber here, which is great. I really like it. If you fill up your RO and you've made it outside or something in the winter and it's really cold, you can find, because it's right next and attached to the sump, well, I'll go back on, because it's attached to the sump, it will cool your tank down a little bit. Nothing major, but it might drop it a degree or so. If you completely fill this with ice cold water, it will affect your temperature in your sump. Just something to be aware of if you're wondering why you're getting your temperature go down. And then the last quirk is with this downwards pipe. Now, I don't know if it's the valve inside it or if it's just clearing out the muck from my return pump, but when I do a water change, I turn the pump off, so you then get all the water coming down this pipe. Do my water change, turn it back on, level out the water, and then I find sometimes for a couple of days I have to adjust the flow up to the tank. Now, whether it's adjust this pump, this pipe, the valve on it, or just on my return just turn it down a little bit, I have to adjust that slightly because the water either comes down too quick or not fast enough, so then the level in my sump goes off, and the level in the weir goes off. Now, the level in the weir going off isn't obviously a functional problem, but if you notice up here where your weir comes in, that's perfect, that's where I like it. If you drop your level in this weir a bit too much, then as it comes through these teeth essentially, then you get a bit of noise because it drops down a little bit. I probably could have done my emergency drain a bit higher and might have been able to stop that, but it just makes a noise, and I'm one of these guys who doesn't like a noisy tank as it's in my living room. So it's just something to be aware of, that when you do a water change, I think it's not so much the muck getting cleared out the pipe when you just drain all the water. I think when it's empty and then you put water back through it, I think where it comes down into this valve in here, I think you get a little bit of air trapped. If my camera will focus. Yeah, you get a little bit of air trapped. So then you've not got quite as much water going through, so your flow drops down coming out your tank, and it gets a bit noisy, and you can hear the pipe actually being noisy. Again, it's not a problem. Sometimes you can clear it by turning off your return pump and restarting it, and other times it just takes a few hours, less than 12 hours probably, to sort itself out. Usually by the time I wake up the next day, if I've done a water change in the evening, it's sorted itself back up and the flow's all back to normal. But other than that, I don't think there's any really weird little quirks or anything. The only other thing I might mention is that there is a gap down here for your wires and stuff to come through from this side. Now, this side is sold on this tank as a room for a chiller. It comes with a shelf, but obviously I've got my doser here, and then I've built, I'm moving my rubbish out the way, I've built an electrics board out the back as well on it. Works really, really well, but the only thing I would say is that hole could maybe do with being a little bit bigger. Just because, I mean, I've not got millions of tons of kit. I've got heater, a return pump, a circulation pump for the UV and the reactor, skimmer, light and roller. I haven't got millions of different reactors and other controls in here. In fact, my heater, actually there's a wire comes through for the heater, and then there's a two-way block that sits down in behind all this, right down in behind there. I left a gap for my two heaters off there. So by the time you get, I would say, sort of your minimum standard kit to run your tank, it gets a bit tight, that hole for the plugs to get through and for wires to get through, so that could do with being a bit bigger. But Everything other than that, perfect. Absolutely love the tank. Really good choice. If you're thinking about going and buying a Red Sea or a water box, I highly recommend that you look at these as well. Thanks for watching.